March 18, 1968, Hat Dike Jungle, Phu Thai Province, Vietnam. 11:10 in the evening. 5 men, completely still, not breathing loud enough to be heard. 100 meters ahead, a jungle trail. Buried beneath it, 4 shaped charges and 4 claymore mines, connected by a single wire running back to a bomb crater. The wire is in Sergeant Frank Cashmore's hand. He has been waiting for 2 days. Somewhere in the darkness ahead, a single headlight is moving. The Viet Cong have been hunting these men for weeks. Tonight, they found the wrong patrol. February 1968, Vietnam. The whole world is watching the Tet Offensive. Saigon is burning. American commanders are scrambling to respond to attacks across the country. But in Phu Thai Province, something quiet is happening. The 274th Viet Cong Regiment owns this jungle. They have owned it for years. They move at night. They control the supply line. They know every trail, every river crossing, every shadow between the trees. And they are completely confident because the Australians, they believe, have pulled back from this area weeks ago. They are wrong. 2 Squadron, Australian Special Air Service Regiment, has just landed at Nui Dat, and they did not come to watch. Their commander, Major Brian Wade, has one order from Brigadier Ron Hughes: not reconnaissance, not intelligence gathering, killing. The math sounds insane. 5 to 6 men per patrol against Viet Cong units that operate in companies of 100 or more. But the Australian SAS had something the Viet Cong didn't expect. They had learned to use the jungle itself as a weapon. The Viet Cong called them Ma Rung, phantoms of the jungle, because 5-man patrols had learned to move through terrain crawling with enemy soldiers without ever being seen. Major Brian Wade had studied demolition ambush tactics at Fort Bragg. He arrived in Vietnam with a specific vision: not patrols that observed and reported, patrols that killed, that destroyed supply lines, that made the enemy afraid to move at night. He needed the right patrol commander to prove it was possible. He found one. March 17, 1968, ARF No. 9 Squadron Iroquois helicopter lifts off from Nui Dat. 6 men aboard. The patrol commander, Sergeant Frank Cashmore, 25 years old, from Collie, Western Australia. This is his first patrol as commander, not his first tour. His first command, second in command, Corporal Danny Wright, 28 years old, Vietnamese language qualified, lead demolitions expert, one of the most technically skilled soldiers in the squadron. Corporal Dave Scheil, 28, ex-Dutch commando, demolitions assistant, a man who had already seen serious combat before he ever set foot in Vietnam. Private Kim McCauley, 19 years old, first operational tour, West Flank Security, the youngest man on the patrol by 6 years. Private Adrian Blacker, 21, carried a silent Sterling submachine gun, East Flank Security, the weapon chosen specifically for its ability to kill quietly if the patrol was compromised. And Private David Elliott, 22, demolitions carrier. He would carry the heaviest load of his life on this patrol. Their target, the Firestone Trail, a wide track about 200 meters west of landing zone Dampi, carved through the Hat Dike jungle by American Rome plows months earlier. An observation flight had spotted something unusual: fresh tractor tracks crossing the landing zone. No Allied vehicle had authorization to be there. Intelligence estimated up to 60 Viet Cong escorting the vehicle. 6 men against 6. Each man carried 14 water bottles, 7 days of ration, weapon, demolition, a URC-10 emergency radio. The total weight was crushing. The helicopter flared for landing. The men jumped. Elliot went down immediately. The weight of his demolition pack drove him straight into the ground. His leg gave out on contact. Within minutes, the helicopter came back. Elliot was extracted. 5 men now, against 6. Cashmore didn't abort. He couldn't. The mission was already running. The tractor was already moving somewhere in that jungle. And Cashmore had spent 3 days rehearsing this exact ambush at Nui Dat. Major Wade himself had driven a Land Rover over the test setup to calibrate the pressure plate. It had to work with 5. The weapon system was extraordinary in its simplicity. For M40 beehive-shaped charges, designed to punch through armor, buried beneath the surface of the trail, wired in parallel. For M18A1 claymore mine, each containing 700 steel ball bearings, positioned at angles to shred anything flanking the vehicle after the initial blast. 1 steel pressure plate, calibrated to close the circuit only under the weight of a vehicle, not a man, not an animal, a vehicle, one firing wire, 100 meters long, running back from the kill zone to their position in a bomb crater. The setup took hours, moving in absolute silence. No light, no talking, hand signals only. When it was done, they disappeared into the tree line, and they waited. The first night, nothing worked. At 1:45 in the morning, Cashmore heard it, the low rumble of an engine. A single headlight appeared from the east. The tractor rolled directly over the pressure plate. Nothing. The circuit didn't close. The vehicle was too light, or the plate hadn't seated properly in the dirt. The Viet Cong supply run continued. 60 armed soldiers walked past, within meters of 5 hidden Australians, and not a single charge fired. The tractor disappeared into the jungle darkness, taking its cargo with it. 5 Australian SAS soldiers lay completely still in a bomb crater and watched 60 Viet Cong walk away alive. At first light, they crept forward, slowly, silently, checking every meter of the approach for booby traps the VC might have laid in response. They reset the charges, recalibrated the pressure plate, adjusted the seating depth, then disappeared again. The second day was the hardest part. Not the danger, not the heat, the waiting, lying motionless in a jungle bomb crater, while insects crawled across your face, and the tropical sun drove the temperature past 40 degrees. Not moving, not swatting, not drinking more water than absolutely necessary, because every movement, every sound, every disturbance in the undergrowth could bring 60 armed Viet Cong down on 5 men in a hole in the ground. Professional soldier, doing what professional soldiers do, waiting. March 18th, 1968, 11:10 p.m. The second night, the single headlight appeared again. Same tractor, same route, coming from the west this time. The Viet Cong driver had no idea he was driving over a firing plate. No idea 5 Australians were watching through the darkness from 100 meters away. No idea this section of trail had been turned into a kill zone 48 hours earlier. The tractor's front tire rolled onto the pressure plate. The circuit closed. What happened next lasted less than 1 second. For M40 beehive charges detonated simultaneously, shaped explosions designed to defeat armor, sending their energy directly upward through the tractor's chassis. The vehicle came apart. For Claymore mines fired in the same instant. 2,800 steel ball bearings traveling at 1,200 meters per second. For overlapping fans of destruction extending 50 meters from the point of detonation. For giant orange fireballs rose into the night sky above the Hat Dike jungle, visible for kilometers. It was the most horrific explosion I have ever witnessed in my military career, one veteran later recalled. It blew me arse over head backward. The trail was gone. The tractor was gone. The trailer was gone. In the silence that followed the blast, Corporal Danny Wright, the Vietnamese language specialist, heard voices, at least 4 Vietnamese, calling for help. The patrol went to ground, 20 meters back into the tree line, weapons ready, completely silent. They didn't pursue. They didn't call out. They didn't move. They waited. Because 5 men don't chase 6, not even after destroying their vehicle. Because somewhere in that jungle, 56 surviving Viet Cong soldiers were now armed, angry, and looking for whoever had done this. The patrol stayed hidden through the rest of the night, through every sound and movement in the darkness around them, through the distant voices of the VC reaction force moving through the jungle. They didn't move until morning. At first light, a lone Viet Cong survivor staggered across landing zone, dampy, bandaged, bleeding, moving away from the destruction. The patrol let him go. No contact, no noise. At 9:10 a.m., the Iroquois returned. 5 men climbed aboard. Not a single combat casualty. Air reconnaissance photographed the site the next morning. The crater was massive. The tractor and trailer were completely destroyed. Official credit: 15 Viet Cong killed. A Viet Cong defector who later came over to the Allied side told a different story. The real number was 21. 5 men, 2 knife, 1 wire, 21 enemy killed, 0 Australian casualty. Frank Cashmore would be known in the regiment for the rest of his career by one name: Frank. The tractor job, Cashmore. He returned for a second tour in 1971. He spent the rest of his military career being asked about that night in March 1968, about the pressure plate, about the wire, about the 2 nights of waiting. But the real significance of the tractor job wasn't the body count. It was the message. It was the proof. Major Wade had believed that small teams could function as hunter-killer units in terrain dominated by the enemy. That 5 men, properly trained and properly equipped, could disappear into jungle crawling with Viet Cong, set a perfect ambush, and come back without a scratch. The tractor job proved it. From April 1968 forward, 2 squadrons stopped being an intelligence gathering unit. They became a hunter-killer force. Every subsequent patrol was planned around the recce ambush doctrine that Cashmore's team had established in that bomb crater. The tactics were refined, the equipment was improved, the pressure plates were recalibrated, the claymore positioning was optimized, and the Viet Cong began to understand something that changed how they moved through Phuoc Thi province at night. The jungle was no longer safe. The Australians were still there, and they were watching. Over 6 years of operations in Vietnam, the Australian SAS would conduct roughly 1,200 patrols through jungle exactly like the Hat Dike. They would operate in 5-man teams against Viet Cong units of company strength and above. They would set ambushes, destroy supply lines, and gather intelligence that shaped the entire Allied effort in Phuoc Thi province. They inflicted 492 confirmed Viet Cong killed, against only 2 combat deaths of their own, 492 to 2. The Viet Cong called them Ma Rung, phantoms of the jungle, because 5-man patrols had learned to routinely turn the hunters into the hunted. The tactical lessons from patrols, like Cashmore's, were studied at Fort Bragg, at Hereford, at special operations schools around the world. The philosophy of the hunter-killer recon team, small, silent, lethal, became the foundation of modern special operations doctrine. But it started here, in a bomb crater, in the Hat Dike jungle, with 5 men and 1 wire. The Viet Cong had been tracking Australian patrols for weeks, moving through the same jungle, watching the same trail, believing that the ground they controlled was secure. That belief, that single, fatal assumption, was the mistake that cost them everything. They tracked the wrong patrol. And on a jungle trail in March 1968, on the second night of a 2-day wait, a tractor drove into a kill zone that had been built specifically for it. 1 wire, 4 beehives, 4 claymores, and 21 men who would never drive that trail again. Next week on Lost Patrol, 6 American soldiers are inserted into Laos, a country the United States is officially not fighting in. Their mission is to watch the Ho Chi Minh Trail and report back. What they find, and what finds them, is one of the most intense 3-day survival stories of the entire Cold War. Subscribe to Lost Patrol so you don't miss it. If this video hit different, like button, 2 seconds, it tells the algorithm this story deserves to be heard. This is Lost Patrol, the battles they never found. The Australian SAS remained in Vietnam until 1971. By then, the strategic situation had changed completely. American forces were withdrawing. The war was entering its final chapter. But the tactical lessons from 2 squadrons' operations in Phuoc Thi province didn't leave with them. The doctrine that Frank Cashmore and his 4-man patrol proved on the Firestone Trail, that small, silent, precisely trained teams could dominate jungle terrain against vastly larger forces, became standard special operations thinking around the world. Every modern special forces unit that conducts hunter-killer operations in denied territory is operating on a doctrine that was proven in a bomb crater in the Hat Dike jungle on the night of March 18, 1968. 5 men, 4 beehives, 4 claymores, 1 wire, and 1 tractor that drove into the wrong jungle on the wrong night. The Viet Cong called them Ma Rung, phantoms, because they appeared from nowhere and disappeared back into the jungle without a trace. And on that trail, in that moment, when the pressure plate closed the circuit and 4 orange fireballs rose into the Vietnamese night sky, the phantoms had done exactly what they came to do. The SAS selection process had been brutal. Only about 20% of candidates passed. Those who made it trained for exactly this kind of mission. Deep insertion, small teams, no support, no backup, no room for error. Cashmore had studied demolition ambush techniques for months before his patrol. Wright had qualified in Vietnamese language specifically to gather intelligence from enemy radio traffic and prisoner debriefs. Shaw had combat experience from Borneo that most soldiers never accumulate in an entire career. Macaulay and Blacker were young, but they had been selected because they were capable of the one thing that mattered most in the Hat Dike jungle. They could be completely, absolutely, totally still. For 2 days and 2 nights, they waited in that bomb crater. No fire, no hot food, minimal water, surrounded by a jungle that the Viet Cong controlled completely. And they never made a sound that wasn't supposed to be made. That discipline, that professional, trained, deliberate discipline is what made the tractor job possible. Not luck, not superior number, not technology. Discipline, training, patience, and one wire connected to 4 beehive charges and 4 claymore mines buried beneath a jungle trail. That is what 5 men accomplished on the night of March 18, 1968. That is the story of the tractor job.